Gopijanavalabha Girivardhari Gopijanavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Nativa Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vijanavalabha Girivardhari Vijanavalabha Girivardhari Shodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Nativa Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Madhava Kunjavihari Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha. Jaya Radha Samasundara Samasundara. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitya Go Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba. Nitya Go Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba. Acharya Sudar Sudashishmari Divine Gates, Abhachan Bhakti Swami Shilpo Bhadiki Jai, Iskan Pamacharya Divine Gates Shilpo Bhadiki Jai, Yogi Shilpaparam Sabravich Acharya Sudar Sudashishmari Divine Gates, Shilpa Bhakti Swami Shilpo Bhadiki Jai, Anand Guru Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namachar Shilpa Viras Thakur Ki Jai, Prince Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sri Gaura Bhakti Ki Jai Shri Shiva Hare Krishna Gopal Shyam Chandra Radha Kunj Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktavan Ki Jai Gandharajman Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Govinande. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories, Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. All glories to the Prabhupada Ki.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna and welcome to all our devotees online. Thank you very, very much for your association and attendance. Today we're going to be covering Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verses 16 to 21. It's going to be in two parts. So this will be part 1. We're going to cover the 14 stages of Bhakti. Just a sound check. Please let me know if my sound is audible and clear in the chat. Or you can unmute.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Giridhari Prabhu and the devotees. Thank you. Let us start. So we'll cover the prayers. Om Jnana Timivandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavenebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Bhusha Sarva Vedeka Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokayatrit Prada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvandha Didaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you who enrich with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna, who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varsha Sharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By reading you, one attains transcendental bliss. For your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madekabandhu Mad Sanghim Mad Guru Man Mahadana Man Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Madananda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Asadu Sadhu Tadain Attini Chochataraka Hanamun Chakada Chinmam Premna Ritkatayospura O Srimad Bhagavatam, O give of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest Mahatma throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratas charte swabhigna swarahan tene brahma hidaya adikavaye muyanti yatsuraya tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha damna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destructions of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representation of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him did the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally exist in a transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Prayanalpaisha sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyo upadrita. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are troubled, quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayan namaskritya narachaivam narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Savaipum saparo dharmo yatho bhakti radokshaje ahoitukiya pratihataya yatma suprasiddhati. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated, uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatya Suvairagyam Jnanam Cha Yad Ahayutukam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajgnanam advayam rameti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentals who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Shushrushroshradhanasya vasudeva katharuchi syan mahatsevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains the affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shrunutam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana ridyantastoya badrani vidunati surit satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma Supersoul in everyone's heart and a benefactor, a truthful devotee, cleanses desire of material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nastaprayashu badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continue Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So let us cover some feedback. Devotees can share feedback from last week's lesson, what you took home, what really went deep in your consciousness, what gave you some amazing realizations, what you decided that, yes, this is what I need to memorize, keep, share, contemplate on. So please share with us either via unmuting yourself or you can type in the chat. Okay, so Vasarad Prabhu says, only Lord Shri Krishna is the absolute truth. Yes, not just Krishna, but the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Krishna, who is the powerhouse, or he is the owner of power, Shaktiman, and Shakti, which is Shrimati Radhavani, source of all energies. Nonetheless, a devotional service bhakti is the ultimate occupation of human life and the real thing. Anything else is a waste of human life. Yes, human life is actually meant for reviving our pure devotional service to Krishna. Mother Krishna Devidasi says, irrespective of the level we are on, we should perform devotional service with faith, determination, sincerity. Yes, and today we're going to be covering the stages of the process of bhakti. Very, very important verses. Mother Hemavati says, it is beautiful to hear how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only gardener, and we must help him distribute the fruits. Hope and pray we can help. Yes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the main gardener, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is requesting, I'm one, please help me. So here, the Lord is personally giving everyone service, special service. Through his request, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord is giving that special service to help him spread pure love of Krishna, distribute the mangoes of love of Krishna. So the opportunity is there. The Lord has already distributed the fruits far and wide. The fruits have already been given, but it hasn't been manifested. The manifestation is dependent on those fortunate souls that grab the opportunity to manifest it. So it's either you going to manifest it, one fruit, few fruits, millions of fruits, or someone is going to take advantage. Okay. Either way, it's already done. It's like now see who's there to grab it, right? It's up for grabs. So we want to be greedy. We want to at least and according to our own capacity, we want to be greedy to distribute the fruits. Just like Srila Prabhupada. Kirarada Prabhu said, by accepting obstacles, the Lord gives us strength to overcome these. Just keep on going. Yes. Do not be in this consciousness that we don't want any obstacles. When I come to spiritual life, Krishna conscious, I chant 16 rounds, there should be 0 obstacles. That's hallucination. You are dreaming. There will be obstacles. The obstacles are there to see whether you are fixed, you are practicing, you are serious, you are sincere. So don't see it as obstacles. Just see it as tests, evaluation, assignments. That's all. No obstacles in life. They're just assignments. Mother Archana Siddhi says, pain is compulsory, but suffering is optional. Yes, if we have the proper consciousness, we will never suffer. Render devotional service with feeling. Feeling is important. Just like when you shoot bullets. If there's no gunpowder, then those bullets have no effect. So when we engage in devotional service, it's like shooting bullets. Without feelings, those bullets will not have effect. So the feeling, the proper intention and feeling behind the service is important. Sukadeva Goswami says, we have to develop taste to hear. We must share and spread the glories of Krishna consciousness and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. Yes, definitely. Meena says, must be inquisitive and have faith. Share and repeat what you hear. If Krishna is satisfied, then everyone is satisfied. So this aspect of sharing, we have to get in the mood of sharing, of helping. This is very important in whatever way we can, to try to help, try to connect, try to share with people. Mother says, if we don't share, spiritual knowledge, then you are a miser and you will lose it. An important part of service is to share this knowledge. Very good. Hemavati says, Nalikan Prabhu says, stay on the road. Srila Prabhupada gave us, we must appreciate, keep focus on the path no matter what. Yes. And Pafana Prabhu says, yes, I know it's not his name, or maybe, not sure. Do not leave the royal path. Stay in no matter what. Don't leave. Yes. And this royal path, Srila Bhakti says, is laid with thorns. So are we ready to traverse this royal path back to the spiritual world that is laid with thorns? We should be like, if we hear that statement, we should be like this devotee who's chanting Hare Krishna here. Yes, let it come, no matter what. The beauty is in the beginning, those thorns will be thorns. But as we progress, then those thorns transform into petals. And we will look at those thorns as the greatest blessing ever to befall on our life. Thank you very much for everyone for your wonderful feedback. So we are going to continue chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. We're going to be covering the section on the Bhakti progresses, how Bhakti progresses from 16 to 21. So about 16 to 20 is covering the different verses or stages of Bhakti. Bhakti is said to be the ultimate good and the essence of all scriptures, and therefore Sudha Goswami is going into detail in terms of the stages of Bhakti. So we have different roadmaps. We have the roadmaps to go from one place to another. We have a product roadmap. We have project roadmap timeline. We have a technology roadmap. We have a marketing roadmap, HR roadmap, change roadmap. We have a customer roadmap. We have a sales. So many roadmaps. All these different roadmaps are there. We also have a Bhakti roadmap. Now, we are going to be talking about this Bhakti roadmap, which we started last week, that we on this journey, and we are going to be talking about this roadmap. Now, the question that I have for you is, what are the benefits of having a roadmap? Can you please share, either by unmuting or in the chat. What are the benefits of having a roadmap? Anyone? It gives proper direction. Yes, you will know the path and know if you are making progress. Safely takes you to your destination. You know where you are heading and not moving in life aimlessly. You know your goal, easy to find the goal. You will be able to plan ahead about your metaphorical journey, guides, direct, leads. You see how far you are going on the path. Yes. You will not get lost. Yes. Wonderful. Very good.
Hare
Great.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare
Rashmi.
Nityananda Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay,
All glory
please
to
accept
Prabhupada.
mine. All glory to Prabhupada.
I like the Bhakti Roadmap title. Just like you have a mind map. When you're studying, you have a mind map.
Yes.
So you stick to the subject. You don't get lost into the vast areas of knowledge. Completely
Yes.
pinpointed focus. In the same way, this Bhakti Roadmap will take us straight to Goloka Vrindavan Dham, or to the lotus feet of Radha Krishna. No
Very good.
deviations.
No deviation. Yes.
Very
Like a mind. Yes. Nice. Like a mind map, right? Very good. Nice analogy. So it keeps you focused. And all of you shared many, many wonderful points. We should all try to memorize these points, right? Because we have the Bhakti roadmap. So this Bhakti roadmap, like you all have said, will give us proper direction, keep us focused. It will give us the beacons to see how are we progressing, are we moving in the right direction. It's easy, so we don't get deviated. It's easy to move on this road. It guides us. We will not get lost. Right? So that's the beauty of this roadmap. It's also very scientific. If there's a roadmap, it means that anyone who's on the roadmap, they will experience or they will see the same beacons, the same things on the road, which means everyone that traverses this road will experience the same aspects. It's not hallucination, right? If it's not a roadmap, means it cannot be scientific. It's not real. But the fact that you have a roadmap and you can go on this roadmap and you can realize, everyone can realize the same stages, means it's real. So it's a very wonderful way to consider that we have this roadmap. Now, I like to ask a few more questions. So there's going to be a lot of questions that we're going to cover, right? How long have you been on the wrong road? So we spoke about the wrong roads, and especially material life. And that's the wrong road. All the other maps, roads. So the question is, how long have we been on the wrong roads? Many lifetimes, Atma Devshani says. Since time immemorial. Yes. Okay, so definitely since time immemorial. Good. How many pious acts have you performed? So since we have multiple questions, put if you're going to answer, put two, just put 2 colon. So you can answer like this, question 2, and then give your answer. Right. So for question 2, please give your answer. How many pious acts did you perform? Some, if we're on the path. Samavati also says some, Les says some. A few, Atmadarshini says, very interesting. Very little, Giridhari Prabhu says. Okay, so you've performed unlimited pious acts, and we'll touch on that. Okay, for question number 3, how many sinful acts did you perform? Maybe you're saying some because you think you're more sinful, your humility is there, but actually you've performed unlimited pious acts. How many sinful acts have you performed? 3, lots, millions, unlimited, countless. Yes. For question number 4, how many callings of the Lord did you ignore on this road, on this misdirected road? For number 4, how many callings of the Lord did you ignore? Yes, unlimited, many. Okay, the Lord has been trying since time immemorial. The Lord has been trying by sending his pure devotees, by coming as incarnations, by trying to make arrangements in so many ways, giving scripture, so many ways. Good. Question number 5. How many times did you betray the Lord's love? For question number 5, how many times did you betray the Lord's love? Unlimited times, many times, always, always, many times, yes. And how long have you thought you of this material world? Question 6. How many times did you think that you are part of this world? All the time, since time immemorial, unlimited. Thank you for answering those questions. Do you find one common thread? And the one common thread in answering all these questions is behind the question, infinite. So practically the answer to all these questions is infinite. We've been on this road infinite number of times. engage in so many pious activities, so many sinful activities, ignore the callings of the Lord. So we've practically betrayed and neglected the Lord so many times, infinite number of times. And I'd like you just to contemplate and meditate on that. If the law, which is there in scripture, in the Bible, as you sow, so shall you reap. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If that is absolutely true, and it is, and it's absolute, and you cannot avoid that, then the answers that we gave to these questions in relation to every action as an equal and opposite reaction would mean that we are definitely in a precarious situation, especially when we're now coming on this path of bhakti. So if I'm on this path of bhakti, my question to you now is, how long do we want it to take to go back to Godhead? How long do we want to take it to go back to Godhead? This lifetime, immediately, Radhika says, this lifetime, as soon as possible. Now, isn't that ironic that the Lord has been trying since time immemorial, and we betrayed him in every way, in every life, and now we come on this road and we want it right now, like tomorrow. 1 minute, Srila Prabhupada says, yes, true. But it's interesting that we want to go back right now. In the meantime, we've ignored the Lord for so long. So really speaking, if every action has an equal reaction, then how long would you be happy now to wait, considering your answers to the first set of questions? How long will you be happy to wait to go back to Godhead? So Amavati says, when Shri Krishna wants and we are worthy, true. But when Krishna is ready, yes. When he feels we are ready, when we are fit. So we should be ready to wait an infinite number of lives to go back to the spiritual world. Infinite. Why? Because I've committed infinite number of reactions and ignored the Lord an infinite number of times. So if it's fair, I ignored the Lord infinite number of times, I should wait for, I should let him decide, and I should be ready to go through infinite number of times serving him. I've gone on the wrong road, not serving him. Now I'm going to go on a right road, serving him, and I'm happy to wait an infinite number of times. We know it won't be infinite because there is mercy, but this should be our mentality. And also that we've betrayed the love of the Lord, not the Lord. And therefore it is up to us to improve our relationship with the Lord. So we've been in this material world, considering that I'm in this world and I'm of this world. But on this path of bhakti, on this roadmap of bhakti, you will slowly experience that you're in this world, but not of this world. You will start to get sight of this. You will start to get knowledge of this. You will start to get experience of this. And as you progress and perfect your life, you will know that you're not in this world and not of this world. Eventually, you'll go to the spiritual world. Mother Janavi says, how do we know we have not waited all this while? So how do we know that we have not waited all this while? Is because you're not in the spiritual world. And if you still have a material body, means we've been waiting. So yes, it's true. It may not, this may not be our first contact with spiritual life. We've taken few lives already to come on this road. And that's the journey we're going to be describing. Once you know where you in this journey, you'll also know the progression. So we require patience, purification, and practice. And we should have that patience, understanding the complication that I've come from, having that patience. And if you have patience, you're happy to endure whatever comes on this path. You need to be convinced. The most important thing you need to be convinced of is I'm on the right road and I'm not going astray. No matter what, I'm not going astray. So that eagerness and that sincerity has to be there. However long I'm going to be on this road, I'm eagerly going to continue on this road, and with full sincerity, honestly, I'm going to take whatever comes on this road of bhakti. Ultimately, why? To revive our dormant loving relationship. That relationship that the Lord is so eager to establish. I want to take this path and perfect it. And one more point. The path of material, the material road is a road of externals. And the road of bhakti road, is a road of internals. Material life is all about external manifestations. Bhakti is all about internal progress and development. So there are 9 stages which Srila Rupa Goswami quotes in Nectar Devotion, divided into 3 main specific sections: Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. And these are famous stages that we've covered in Nectar Devotion. You can go through the series that's recorded online if you haven't gone through them. Prabhupada says Nectar Devotion is like our law book. We have to go through it many, many times, at least 8 to 9 times we should go through this. It's our law book of bhakti. So first is faith, ado shraddha, then association with devotees, bhajana, then bhajana kriya, performing a devotional service. As you perform devotional service, you cleanse your heart, anartha nivritti. After all the nartas are cleansed, you come to the stage of steady devotion, nishta. So this is all unsteady bhakti, and above nishta is all steady. Then we develop taste, strong taste, firm attachment. Then we come to a stage of bhava, which is the first ray of love of God, and then love. So these are the 9 different stages, very commonly known to us. Now, in these verses that we're going to cover, I'm going to show you these 9 stages, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elaborates that these verses give us 14 different stages, and we're going to be covering how these different verses align to these different stages of bhakti. In the today's session, we're going to be covering the verses and the purports, the points in those verses. And then next week, we're going to go into more details describing the different stages, different aspects. We're going to look at the different anarthas, the different obstacles. We're going to cover different unsteady forms of devotional service. So in that way, when we understand what is unsteady and what is steady, we can then go on this path with greater confidence and faith. So text 16 and 17 covers 5 different stages. And these 5 different stages, first, Satam Kripa, causes devotee of the mercy, causeless mercy of a devotee. Then Mahat Seva, service to devotees, which then gives us faith or shraddha, equivalent to this level. Then we go Guru Parashray, taking shelter of the spiritual master, and Bhajan Neshu Spriyat, eagerness to worship, coming to Bhajana Kriya. So these are the 5 different steps that we're going to be covering now in 16 and 17. So text 16. These verses are very, very, very important verses, key verses from the Bhagavatam. Shushrushroshra dadanasya vasudeva kata ruchi syan mahat sevaya vipra punya tirtha nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudev. So, Shushrushroshradanasya, one gains the affinity to hear. And it's interesting, by serving great devotees, you get the affinity to hear, but in the verse, word to word, there's also the quality of that hearing. It's not just hearing, but what's the quality? Shraddha with care and attention. That's the quality of hearing you get by service to pure devotees of the Lord. By service rendered to the devotees, we gain that affinity to hear. And this activity of hearing Krishna consciousness is also punya tirtha nishevanat. It's a source of piety. It cleanses. It gives you a great sukriti, credits, so that you can gain an affinity, that attraction, ruchi, Vasudeva Kata ruchi. You gain a taste, ruchi, for Vasudeva Kata. So not just any kata, especially not Gramya Kata, not village talk. Right? So no village talk, no politics, no criticism, no other agenda, but Vasudeva Kata. This is the benefit. This is what we get. This is the benefit of Syan Mahatsevaya, by serving those great souls. So Prabhupada in the purport starts off by talking about the suras and asuras. Conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. So here Prabhupada is using another very strong word. We have revolted. Imagine a government with some of the citizens revolting, right? They are upset, they are aggressed, they completely upset, and with aggression, they're revolting. So we also have revolted to the Lord. I don't want to serve you. I don't want to, be with you, right? And because of that, our conditioned life really started. There are men called Deva, or godly living beings, and there are men called Asuras, or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. These Asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the Supreme will. Such devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord. And when they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, and they are known as powerful incarnations of the Lord, as sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord. So the devotees are seen and taken as very, very special in the eyes of the Lord. Why? And especially those devotees who are risking their lives to spreading, to connecting, to giving the asuras the mercy. Right? They're very, very special. Prabhupada then continues, but none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is a blasphemy declared by the asuras, and the demonic followers of such asuras also accept pretenders as God or his incarnations. In the revealed scriptures, there is definite information of the incarnations of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. And we find in scriptures, every incarnation, especially the prominent ones, are described. Their activities are described, their birth is described, their family is described, their parents are described. There are markings on their palms, on their feet. There are signs that tells us this is an incarnation. No one can just claim that, oh yes, I'm God. Is the sound okay? I think Roshan is saying maybe only on his side. Ram King Kripu, I think it's Ram King Kripu's side. Just as sound is good? Okay. Yeah, so it's Durban's side. Good. So the point is, nobody can claim to be an incarnation of God. Right? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself would block his ears when anyone would call him the Supreme Lord. Yet he is the Supreme Lord himself. Why? To teach everyone in this world. Do not just take anyone as an incarnation. There are specific characteristics, qualities. No one can become God. That's absurd. That's insanity. Prabhupada says Krishna did not do weightlifting to pick up Govardhan Hill. He didn't have to practice and exercise. He didn't have to go for meditate to become God. As a baby, he killed Putna. Why? Because he's God. It's not that he becomes God. He's God when he's a child. He's God when he's a youth. He's God before, after, all the time. He is God. He never becomes not God. So a devotee will never claim that I'm God. Prabhupada says anyone who claims that he is God, G-O-D, he is God in reverse, D-O-G. So the servants of the Lord, Prabhupada says, are to be respected as God by the devotees. The servant of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of God. So even though the devotees never claim to be God, still they are given the respect, the honor equal to God. Why? Because they're confidential servants of God. And the devotees never demand that. They command it by their humility. So that is very important. Servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servants of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. That's a very important statement. By serving the servants of God, one can please God more than by directly serving God. So we cannot go directly to God. We need to go through his servants. Therefore, serving the servants of God is even more powerful. And then Prabhupada explains why. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord, and so are very dear to the Lord. We see Srila Prabhupada, he risked his elderly age of 70 and staying in Vrindavan, the holy Dham, where people go to retire and leave this world. Prabhupada left that situation. So in a very risky situation, Prabhupada sacrificed that to give Krishna consciousness to the world. Prabhupada's early disciples, they sacrificed their youth in the service of Krishna. Here we see how what Srila Prabhupada, they're 19, 18, 20, very young. And Prabhupada gave them sannyas to spread Krishna consciousness at a very early age. So they sacrificed their youth. So in this way, whether you sacrifice your aged time or your youth or in between, anyone who sacrifices to help connect souls to Krishna, this is taken to be very pleasing to the Supreme Lord. And those who serve those devotees, they please Krishna even more than by directly serving Krishna. The Lord declares in Bhagavad Gita that no one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glories. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So the devotees naturally are in love with Krishna, therefore they want to hear about God. They're always speaking about Krishna. And those who serve these souls, these great devotees, the Mahatmas, they develop the urge to hear. And Prabhupada says this is the first, the eagerness to hear. This is the first qualification. And why? Because we're going to cover the reason of why this is auspicious, why this is wonderful in terms of hearing about Krishna. Okay, we're going to be covering this. Now, Prabhupada, in one lecture, Prabhupada says, still people, they are praising our activities. If we keep our standard, then they will appreciate. So this is called Shraddha. Now Prabhupada is giving an example in relation to how one can serve. Okay, so what happens by the service? Service to the devotees in any form or shape. So, for example, we're going to take Srila Prabhupada as an example. And remember, here when we talk about devotees, it could be any devotee. Service to any devotee connected to Srila Prabhupada is very, very special. So, serving directly in terms of, let's say, serving the deity form, serving Prabhupada's personal form, or hearing from him, or fulfilling his instructions, or appreciating in any way. This increases one's devotional piety, sukriti. We got two accounts, a material account and a spiritual account. So when we engage in any service to these Mahatmas, great souls who sacrifice their life in preaching, then it increases our devotional credits. As the devotional credits increase, we develop eagerness to hear. So one way we can help people increase their devotional credits is through appreciation. And that's the example Prabhupada is giving. So this is called Shraddha. This appreciation is called Shraddha. Shraddha Dhanasya. Even he does not join. If one says, oh, it is very nice, it is very nice. These people are good. Sometimes in paper, they say that these Hare Krishna people are nice. We want more of them, they say. So this appreciation is also a lift for such persons. If he doesn't hear, doesn't come, simply one says, it's very nice. Yes, just like small children, a baby, he's also appreciating, trying to stand up with his symbols, appreciating from the very beginning of life, appreciating. It is nice. He knows or does not know. It doesn't matter. Simply appreciating is giving him a touch of spiritual life. It is so nice, Shraddha. If they do not go against simply appreciating, oh, they are doing nice. So development of spiritual life means development of this appreciation. That's all. So very wonderful example I was giving in terms of appreciation. And the more we increase and maintain a wonderful standard in the movement and of such exalted standard, such wonderful standard in all aspects, this will allow people to appreciate. And this appreciation of people itself is glorious. It increases their sukriti. There's a beautiful example. Srila Prabhupada and his servants were walking in an early morning walk, and there was a river next to it. So they're walking down the river path. And ahead in the front of Srila Prabhupada and the disciples was one elderly lady, and she was busy fishing. And she caught a fish. So she caught the fish, and then she looked and she saw Srila Prabhupada with his disciples approaching. So she turned to Srila Prabhupada and she dangled the fish that she caught. And she asked Srila Prabhupada, do you want the fish? And Srila Prabhupada, he smiled and he says, no, thank you. You can have it. You can enjoy. And that's all Srila Prabhupada said. And she smiled and, appreciated. And Prabhupada continued walking. Far enough so that she wouldn't hear. And then to the disciples, Prabhupada completed the sentence, and suffer. So Prabhupada could have told her, and no, you enjoy and suffer. But he did not. He reciprocated with her gesture, with her offering, even though it was meat. The fact that she offered something to Prabhupada, that is pious. She's rendering service, and she's getting the benefit of sukriti. It's increasing a bank account. And for the disciples, Prabhupada had to teach that yes, if you eat fish, that's an act of suffering. Right? So this is how Prabhupada handles the situation in such a way to allow that soul to advance and not degrade, even by just an offering that apparently we may think is not appropriate. So our attraction to Shri Krishna starts off with a pure devotee. Prabhupada, these are quotes from his lectures. A pure devotee who's who has no other business than to serve Krishna. He is called Mahat. So one has to engage himself in the service of the pure devotee. As soon as we serve a pure devotee, yes, prasadat. If you satisfy a pure devotee by your service, then even there is some discrepancy, you will get these qualities. So this service of Vaishnavas is very, very important. It's one of the main principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well, Vaishnav Seva, to serve the devotees of the Lord. Whether they advance or not, we should try to render service in appreciation, in encouraging the devotees of the Lord. Naturally, it's natural to serve advanced souls, but we should understand that serving even a new bhakta, some new person that comes in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement, Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, to serve that soul is also extremely important. In fact, in many cases, more important to honor and respect and serve that soul, to strengthen his faith in Krishna than it is to serve those who are more advanced. More time, more energy needs to give. And just like if a mother has two children, she will give more time and energy to a younger one, because that younger one needs more time to develop. And by serving great souls, especially, we get mercy. And that mercy gives us taste. Thus, ruchi, vasudeva kata ruchi, shushrushro shradanasya. So if you continually hear with faith and appreciation, you will come to the stage of tasting. And through this tasting, what will happen? Vasudeva kata ruchi. So as soon as you get ruchi, taste, ruchi means taste. Here is Krishna talk. Very nice. Let me hear. So by serving pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, we get a taste. When we get a taste of that appreciation, that taste will give us the desire that, yes, I'm here, I'm happy to hear talks about Krishna. This is very nice. Let me hear. So it allows us to engage in Shravanam, hearing. And this Shravanam, hearing Krishna Katha, so with the development of our eagerness and sincerity, we have our knowledge in spiritual understanding, God will help us. And Krishna within the heart will see this and will then help us. And then this, and this will continue. This cycle will develop more eagerness to serve. We then serve, we get more taste, we serve more, we hear of Krishna Katha, and this cycle continues. Just to give you a wonderful pastime in relation to mercy. So by serving great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, we develop, we get the blessings. And these blessings are very, very important for our spiritual life, for our journey, right? They're extremely important. In 1974, Srila Prabhupada decided to see the new movie that Mother Vishaka and Yadubar Prabhu made called The Spiritual Frontier, about New Vrindavan. And Kirtananda flew out to look at that movie with Srila Prabhupada. So this is the wonderful place called Prabhupada Palace of Gold. The devotees built this beautiful palace for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure, personally, all themselves. Many of them had no idea of building yet. You can see the devotion coming out in this offering. And Prabhupada with the disciples were there in the temple, and they were screening this new movie that Mother Vishaka and Yadubar had created called Spiritual Frontier, basically showing this project, movie about this project. And midway through this movie, there was a scene where they, showing the cooking going on, midday cooking. And we see this devotees, Prabhupada is seeing the devotee frying puris. And when they saw, when Prabhupada saw the puris in the movie, the puris are frying and puffing up. And Prabhupada turned to Tama Krishna Maharaj, who was there in the audience, and said, I'd like to have one of those puris. The devotees chuckled. And then the movie ended, showing how Kirtananda had tried to put so much effort in setting up this wonderful offering building temple for Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada began to glorify Kirtananda Swami in the temple. And then he looked at Kirtananda Prabhu, and Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, Prabhupada looked at Kirtananda and says, Kirtananda, I bless you that you will go back to Godhead this life. And all the devotees cheered, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada continued, what Kirtananda? I bless. And Prabhupada showed his hand like this, as mudra of blessing. And from the far left, as Prabhupada was sitting, he said, I bless. And he moved his hand right across the temple room, giving blessings right to the right. As he did this, Prabhupada says, I bless you all that you can go back to Godhead. And all the devotees cheered, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So they were sincerely serving Srila Prabhupada. That sincerity came through, was visibly shown through building this temple. And Prabhupada appreciated it. And because of that appreciation, Prabhupada blessed them. That I bless you, you go back to Godhead in this lifetime. That blessings will never go in vain. So here I started off to show how on the road of Maya we've been there since time immemorial. And therefore we should be ready to go and be on this road of bhakti, no matter how long it takes. But by the mercy of great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, Mahat Sevaya, by serving great souls like this is what we get, blessings. That blessings expedite our journey. What took what now millions of lives, now in one life we can go back to Godhead. So just consider, if we know that I had to go through millions of lifetimes on this path of bhakti, and by Prabhupada's mercy, I can go back in one life, how much more grateful we'll be in reciprocation, in service to Srila Prabhupada. So verse 17. Now, remember we said 16 and 17, first 5 stages. So it starts off with service to the pure devotee. Shranratam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana ridyantastoya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and a benefactor of a truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. So now here we're hearing what happens when you're on this path and you start practicing devotional service and you start hearing Shranvatam Swakata Krishna. Here also it's explained, Krishna Kata. Those who've developed the urge to hear, by hearing about Krishna consciousness, about Krishna, the glories of Krishna. This is devotional service, Shravanam. And by doing this, this is punya, devotional credits that we get, Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. And what happens? The Lord in the heart, Ridyantastoya Badrani, the Lord personally cleanses all the enjoying propensities, the abhadrani, the desires to enjoy, all this get cleansed, vidunoti, by the Supreme Lord. So the Lord, he acts as the benefactor, the well-wishing friend, and he personally comes into our heart and cleanses the dirt with his own hands. Krishna is personally coming into our heart and cleansing, generally cleansing, to clean. People don't consider that to be a glorious activity. You generally employ someone to clean your house. So just consider Krishna, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's personally taking charge of cleansing your heart with his own personal hands. This is how much Krishna appreciates hearing about his glories. And we want to be satam. This Krishna will do to those devotees who are truthful. So very, very important. We want to be honest. We want to be truthful devotees. Krishna says, better be a truthful devotee than a charlatan yogi. Right? We want to be, or rather, actually, Krishna says, better be a honest street sweeper than to be a charlatan yogi. So we want to be an honest devotee, right? Not a dishonest practitioner. Prabhupada in the purport says, messages of the personality of Shri Krishna are not different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is personally there, is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. So wherever Krishna Katha is going on, there personally Krishna is present. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shastika declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant a holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound. But unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's names and activities. So this is our downfall. There's so much potency and power in hearing, yet we don't have a taste. And how do we get that taste? By serving the great Mahatmas. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Shri Krishna helps in all respects. Krishna reciprocates according to the devotees. We know when Krishna came to Kamsa's arena, all the different associates of the Lord's, they saw Krishna differently according to their mood. Even the non-devotees saw Krishna according to the mood. The wrestlers, when they saw Krishna and Balaram, they saw death. The impersonalists, they saw two light bulbs going. Even Kamsa's spiritual teacher, even he saw Krishna in an inimical way. So in this way, each one is seeing Krishna according to their reciprocation or their relationship with him. But Krishna, he's eager to help everyone come back to Godhead. Therefore, as soon as we sincerely desire to take to this path, Krishna, rest assured, will make arrangements. Krishna will be there to help us. And Prabhupada says Krishna is more eager to help us than we even desire. So that faith we should always maintain. Then Prabhupada continues, one cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. So this is one of the obstacles, unfortunately. As long as we have sins, we cannot go back to the spiritual world. Therefore, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, therefore this cleansing process. Right? And how long we've accumulated these sins for? Lifetimes. How much sins we've accumulated? Practically infinite number. Therefore, we should be eager. We should know that I've got so much to cleanse. Therefore, let me not increase my sins, but let me engage seriously to purify my life. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires. Women and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotees. Women and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotees making progress on the path back to Godhead. Many stalwarts in devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the grace of the Lord. To become restless in the contact of women and wealth is not an astonishment, because every living being is associated with such things from remote time, practically immemorial. And it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his position. By the grace of God, such devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. So patience, hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna with sincerity and attention. Yes, it may be difficult, but the Lord will give us sufficient strength to overcome all forms of obstacles. Right? Prabhupada says, you put me in a room of naked women, I will not be disturbed. Why? Because the pure devotees are totally transcendental. They've transcended these lower urges and distractions. We, coming from the material background, have to be very careful, and therefore we have to protect ourselves through good association by hearing and chanting. Prabhupada gives some very wonderful points in his lectures in relation to Krishna, who's our dear friend helping us on this path. Prabhupada says in a lecture, so Krishna is very selfish. He says, here it is said, Swa Kata Krishna. Anyone who is engaged in hearing Krishna Kata. Kata means words, messages. So in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, Mam Ekam, only unto me. Ekam, this is required. So yeah, Krishna is, Prabhupada says, very selfish. Even in the Bible, it says God is a selfish God. So what does it mean? Selfish means Krishna wants our love only. He doesn't want that love to be splayed, right, to different people. He wants all our love reposed on him. Krishna Kata. Krishna wants us to speak only about him, no other business. That hearing itself is punya shravana kirtana. If you simply hear, you will acquire some pious results. Punya shravana kirtana. And if you chant, you get more pious results. Punya shravana kirtana. The result will be ridyantastoya badrani. All abhadrani. All mischievous things will be washed away. Ridyantastoya badrani. Vidunoti. Krishna helps you to wash it away because he's your friend. He's everyone's friend, but a special friend to the devotees. Surit Satam. So we should not be really bothered about all our misgivings, all our bad desires. We should simply be interested in Shravanam Kirtanam. If we simply engage in Shravanam Kirtanam, Krishna will do the cleansing from within. All inauspiciousness, abhadrani, will be cleansed by Krishna. So anyone who is coming here, even if he does not understand a single word which we are speaking, if he simply hears, he becomes pious. Simply by hearing, even a child, he becomes pious. And that piety, especially devotional piety, allows one to advance. Krishna is with you. Krishna is so kind. Krishna is so sympathetic. As soon as he sees, oh, this soul, because every soul is Krishna's son. So he is very much anxious, just like a father. If a son is in difficulty, the father is more anxious. How this boy will be rescued from difficulty. Similarly, we are suffering in this material world. Krishna is more anxious to get us back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, as soon as he sees, oh, he's hearing about me, oh, thank you, I shall help you. Immediately, he washes all dirty things. So Krishna is reciprocating with the sincere efforts of the devotee. And then Prabhupada says, this principle of Bhadrani, the principle of Bhadrani means illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. These are the 4 pillars of Abhadrani, unwanted things, inauspicious things. So these are the 4 main pillars, and you see how Prabhupada instituted that if somebody is serious, they need to follow these 4 regular principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex life. This is really a platform of sinlessness. Now, we may give up, just like I may give up intoxication or meat eating, illicit sex life grossly, but subtly, I may still be contemplating on them. And that subtle contemplation is an obstacle. But by sincerely hearing and chanting, even that subtle obstacles, subtle inauspiciousness, abhadrani, will be purified by the Supreme Lord. So that was the first 5 stages. By getting the mercy of the devotee through service, we develop faith, and then we take shelter, we start engaging in devotional service. Now, text 18, we're going to hear about the next 3 stages. We engage in devotional service, we become purified, anartha nivritti, and then we come to the stage of nishta, steadiness. So text 18. Nastar prayashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So regular, nasta prayashu bhadreshu. We want to nityam bhagavata. Nityam means constantly, regularly. We want to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And if we do this, then nasta prayashu abhadreshu, all abhadra, all inauspiciousness is destroyed, nasta. And how much? Prayashu, almost to null. So not null, but almost to null. And we'll explain about that as well. Prabhupada starts off in the purport by describing the book and person Bhagavatas. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. So here's the remedy. This is the best remedy for Kali Yuga. Normally when people, they call me and they say, Prabhu, we just moved into the house and we want to, have a program to create auspiciousness. Do you do fire yagya? So then I respond, I said, you want to have a program to create auspiciousness, yes? And they say yes. So I said, then if you want to create auspiciousness, you invite your friends and family. We have Bhagavatam Katha, we have Kirtan, Bhagavatam Katha, cook a feast and serve. This will be most auspicious. And they say, no, Prabhu, I'm interested in, the fire sacrifice. So then I said, you want to make smoke. Okay, that you can find somebody else to make smoke. Why? Because here Prabhupada is saying, here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspiciousness. The reason we, want to move into a new house and have a yagya is to create auspiciousness. This is the true way to create auspiciousness, through hearing Bhagavatam, serving the Bhagavatas. The remedy is the association of Bhagavatas. There are 2 types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. Book Bhagavat and person Bhagavat are identical. So person Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada, that person who lives his life according to the book Bhagavat. And the book Bhagavat is Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam. In the lectures, Prabhupada says the devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one receives the benefit of book Bhagavat. Human reasons fail to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavat or book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. And to understand these effects practically, it should be noted that by such sincere association of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily, with the result that he becomes fixed in devotional service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of the Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The messages of the book Bhagavat, therefore, have to be received from the devotee Bhagavat, and the combination of these 2 Bhagavatas will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. For us, Srila Prabhupada is that wonderful person, Bhagavat. And that's why you'll see some, very often, all my lectures, I like to quote Srila Prabhupada's purports. Why? Because by associating with his purports, we are directly associating with the person Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada. By reading and hearing his purports, his lectures, we are personally serving Srila Prabhupada. And naturally, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore we're also serving the book Bhagavat. So we are achieving both. Very, very powerful to help us progress on this path. And what happens? We become fixed, nishta. We come to the stage. So by hearing from Prabhupada, following Srila Prabhupada, hearing the person and the book Bhagavat, we come to the stage of fixed devotional service, nishta. Right? Naturally, by hearing, we get Krishna is cleansing our heart, and slowly progress to the platform of nishta. One time, the Srila Prabhupada, which is better, the book Bhagavat or the person Bhagavat? And Srila Prabhupada says the person Bhagavat. Why? Because the person Bhagavat can do like this, and Prabhupada showed twisting his ears. So the person Bhagavat can chastise you. Book Bhagavat cannot chastise. Naturally, Krishna, if he wants to really chastise you, he can do it because he's God, and he can, manifest it in different ways. But more practically, the pure devotee, when he's physically present, he can chastise, he can correct. So therefore, more beneficial. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Prabhupada says, so here it is said, Bhagavat Sevaya, not Bhagavan Sevaya. Bhagavan is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Bhagavata means in relation with Bhagavan. Who has got relationship with Bhagavan? So here it is recommended Bhagavat Sevaya, not Bhagavan Sevaya. The idea is that you cannot approach Bhagavan, God, directly. One time, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj and his disciples were touring the holy places. I think it was South India and Vrindavan, one of them. And they were staying in one place, and the devotees had gone to go see one apparently very advanced Ram Bhakta. He was exhibiting ecstatic symptoms and always glorifying the Lord, and the devotees went to go see him. So the disciples they came back and they asked Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, why don't you come and see this great soul, Ram Bhakta? So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, he wasn't so much interested. He said, okay, you go ask him. Is his relationship with Lord Ram direct or indirect? You go ask him. So they went to go ask him. And the response came back that, no, my relation with Lord Ram is direct. And when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj heard this, he said bogus. Why? Because this point Prabhupada is making. The idea is you cannot approach God directly. You have to approach God indirectly. And we know even in the Christian tradition, this point is also there. You have to go through God through Jesus. They say only Jesus. But the point is, you have to go through God through a Bhagavata. That's the point. Jesus is the person Bhagavat. Right? So going through God, through the representative. Prabhupada continues, that is not possible. First of all, you have to serve Bhagavata, the devotee Bhagavata. So the question was, which worship is best? So Lord Shiva replied, Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param. My dear Parvati, of all the methods of worship, Vishnu worship is topmost. There are many demigods. There are many demigods worship, and even worship Lord Shiva's worship. But Lord Shiva says Vishnu worship is the best. Then he says again, Tasmat Parataram Devi. My dear Devi, better than the Vishnu worship is Tadiyanam Samacharan. Tadiya means those who are in relationship with Vishnu. Tadiya, just like his devotees. Tadiya, Tulsi Vriksha, Tulsi's Tadiya, or temple Tadiya, preaching Tadiya. Tadiyanam Samacharam. This is Bhagavata. So Lord Shiva recommends that of all methods of worship, Vishnu worship is the best. And better than Vishnu worship is devotee or things in relation with him. So very nice. Prabhupada is giving a broad understanding of Bhagavat Sevaya. Bhagavat Sevaya means serving his devotees. serving Tulsi Devi, serving the temple. So even cleansing the temple. And this is very powerful service, very tadiya to Krishna. Preaching, trying to help souls connect with Krishna. This is tadiya, very wonderful service. And this tadiya service, Bhagavad Sevaya, this allows us to come to the platform of Nishta. Very powerful. Therefore, it is recommended here, Nityam, daily, or constantly, 24 hours. We have to mold our life in such a way that 24 hours, not a single moment leaving aside, we should be engaged in Bhagavad Sevaya, in service of the Lord, in service of Lord's relations. This, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, spiritual master, Tulsi Devi, the temple, the preaching, the books, these are all Bhagavatas. So Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. By serving constantly. And here constantly Prabhupada is defining. So even regularly, daily, Prabhupada wants us to read daily. So if we read daily, we serve daily, then slowly we can start molding our life more and more. And just like if you spend every second serving the Bhagavatas, Bhagavad Sevaya, that means your whole minute will be Bhagavad Sevaya. If you serve every minute Bhagavad Sevaya, then your whole hour will be Bhagavad Sevaya. If you serve every hour, then the whole day, every day, every week, every year. In this way, year by year, your whole life. This is how you have to mold. So try to spend as much time as possible in Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And what happens if you do this? By serving Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nasta Prayashu. If we engage ourselves in this Bhagavad Sevaya, just like we are doing daily, trying to read one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, discussing amongst ourselves, this is Bhagavad Sevaya, Nityam, daily, regularly. By this process, when the dirty things within our heart, within the heart, Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu, Abhadra means dirty things, inauspicious things. What is that inauspicious thing? Inauspicious things means the heart disease with sense enjoyment. The desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. This is inauspicious. This is abhadrani. In this way, when almost dirty things are cleared off, not all, as soon as all dirty things are cleared off, then we are liberated souls. Immediately, love of God, the original consciousness. You become mad, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yugatem Nimeshena. So by constantly hearing regularly, what happens? Krishna cleanses all the inauspiciousness within the heart. And as that inauspicious is cleansed, you become more fixed and you come to the stage of nishta, right? Almost completely cleansed, purified. And Prabhupada gives us a percentage. So nista prayashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata seva, not all cleanse, prayashu, almost. And what is that? Almost 75% cleanse, 75 cleanse. At that time, you become fixed up in devotional service. So you become fixed. You become fixed. So Nishta is close to 75% cleanse of all anarthas. And then the balance gets cleansed very quickly. So this is the process of purifying, of cleansing our heart. It's interesting in relation to 75%. Prabhupada one time was giving a talk, quoting Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. It was a whole program. Prabhupada was sitting on a stage, sitting on a Vyasasan. And Prabhupada was making this point that you have to be 100% Krishna conscious. Krishna says, only think of me at the time of death. Ekam, mam ekam sharanam. Right? Only me, nothing else. So Prabhupada is making this point that at the time of death, you can't think of anything. You attach to anything, you even attach just one sun ray, you have to come back. So only Krishna, single pointed. And Prabhupada could see that the devotees weren't very happy with this point. They were a little, you could see on their face, despondent, because everyone's thinking this is like impossible task to think of Krishna only at the time of death. So then Prabhupada smiled and he said, okay, for y'all, 90%. If you're 90% Krishna conscious, Krishna will take you back to Godhead. So the devotees, they were a little happier. Then Prabhupada completed the talk and he was just about to stand up from the Vyasasan. And Prabhupada looked at his disciples and said, okay, 80% Krishna conscious. If you're 80% Krishna conscious, Krishna will take you back to Godhead. And the devotees were even more happy. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada walks down the stage. Prabhupada takes his chadar very gracefully. You'll see how Prabhupada's face is like very regal, looking up. Prabhupada throws his chadar over him, looks at his disciples, and he says, okay, if you're 75% Krishna conscious, Krishna will take you back to Godhead. And the devotees were elated. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Now it's interesting. Here we find again Mahat Sevaya. By serving the pure devotee, this is the blessings you get. And by Prabhupada's desire, blessings, prayers, that if you 75% Krishna conscious, Krishna can take you back to Godhead. Again, coming back to the point I made, we were on the material road with infinite complication of karma. Now we're on the road of bhakti. By the mercy of the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, he's making it easy. It is by his blessings that this huge road, long lengthy road, becomes very short. Or like it's explained, the spiritual path is like a razor's edge. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, it becomes a beautiful bridge. So this is the beauty. And it's interesting how this 75% is equivalent to Prabhupada's point of 75% perfection. That means if we come to even the stage after Narada Nivritti, Nishta, we can go back to Godhead. Just on the strength of Srila Prabhupada's words. And Krishna, he'll want to please, he'll want to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desires. Because this competition is there. The pure devotee selflessly want to serve Krishna, and Krishna selflessly want to serve his pure devotees. This competition is there. So therefore we are blessed. In this discussion, when the devotees heard this statement by Srila Prabhupada that if you're 75% Krishna conscious, you can go back to Godhead. The devotees were discussing after Prabhupada made this point, that how is it possible that Srila Prabhupada can make this? Krishna is saying 100%, and Prabhupada is saying 75. Naturally, he's the Acharya. But how is it possible? So then this debate, the devotees are debating. So in the evening, the devotees went to Srila Prabhupada and they said, Srila Prabhupada, devotees are questioning that Krishna says 100%. You say 75%. How is that? So Srila Prabhupada very humbly said, my spiritual master is very, very merciful. And he said, my spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, has the back door key. So if you want to go through the front door, then it's 100%. But if you got contacts, then you can go from the back door. So we bring people from the back door into the spiritual world. My spiritual master got the back door key. So Prabhupada's got access to the back door key. Therefore, we go through the back door key. Then Prabhupada in another lecture says, not saptam Bhagavata Sevaya, officially. This is Karma Kandya. Sapta Bhagavatam, you find in India, people have 7 days Bhagavat Katha. So interesting what Prabhupada says here. I sit down for one sapta in a year, and then 357 days I do all nonsense. No, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So beautiful, Prabhupada was making the point. The people go for this Bhagavat Katha for 7 days, the year, and they entertained. And then for the rest of the year, they do nonsense. This is not what Bhagavatam is describing. Bhagavatam is recommending Nityam Bhagavata, daily, regularly, 24 hours. This is the objective. So let us start regularly. 1 hour, half an hour, let us start regularly. Right? Or even 2 hours a week, regularly. Then start increasing it daily. Then start increasing it 24 hours. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So now we come to verse 19. And verse 19 is talking about Ruchi and Ashakti. So we've now come through the stage of Nishta, fixed 75% Krishna conscious. And now we're going to go to get great taste and attachment. So text 19. Tadarajastamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye cheta eter anavidam stitam satve prasiddhati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart. The effects of nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust and desire and hankering, disappear from the heart. And then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So now we're seeing the symptoms, we're seeing the result of overcoming anartha nivritti, coming to the stage of steadiness, nishta. And once we, after the stage of nishta, this is then what happens. Very, very wonderful. We rise above lust, desires, hankering, they all disappear. Rising above passion and ignorance, and we become completely situated in goodness. And externally, what's the symptom? How we can see complete happiness, placidity. Prabhupada starts off the purport explaining the unalloyed activity of the soul. Prabhupada says, a living being in his normal constitutional position is fully satisfied in spiritual bliss. This state of existence is called Brahmabhuta or Atmanandi, or the state of self-realization, self-satisfaction. This self-satisfaction is not like the satisfaction of an inactive fool. The inactive fool is in a state of foolish ignorance, whereas a self-satisfied Atmanandi is transcendental to the material state of existence. This stage of perfection is attained as soon as one is fixed in irrevocable devotional service. Devotional service is not inactivity, but the unalloyed activity of the soul. So when we engage in devotional service, we should understand it's not just an ordinary activity. It's a very glorious activity. In Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says, just knowing your spirit soul is not enough. Oh, I'm Aham Brahmasmi, I'm spirit soul. That's not good enough. You have to engage in practical devotional service, even if you're not pure. So you intellectually know your spirit soul, you intellectually understand I'm a servant of Krishna, and then you engage in devotional service. Prabhupada says you are engaging in an eternal occupation in an immature stage. But because you are engaging in an eternal occupation, that is extremely beneficial for one. All right? That allows one to advance. And practically, it's only a question of time until you become mature. Just like a mango that's connected to a tree. In the beginning, it's green, bitter, unripe. But as long as it's connected to the tree, it gets nourished and it becomes ripe. Similarly, when we stay on the path and simply continue to engage in devotional service, that devotional service will allow us to become mature. It is only a question of time. Prabhupada says you must test. The soul's activity becomes adulterated in contact with matter. And as such, the disease activities are expressed in the form of lust, desire, hankering, inactivity, foolishness, and sleep. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects of passion and ignorance. So these are obstacles that stop our devotional practice from becoming mature. Lust, desire, hankering, inactivity, foolishness, and sleep. When we eliminate them, then we transcend the mode of passion and ignorance. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness, and he makes further progress to rise to the position of Vasudeva, or the state of unmixed sattva, Suddha sattva. Only in the Suddha sattva state can one always see Krishna eye to eye by dint of pure devotion for the Lord. So once we come to the stage of nishta, we transcend the mode of passion and ignorance. We come to the mode of goodness. We then go further. We come to the mode of pure goodness. And when we come to the mode of pure goodness, we can see Krishna face to face. In a lecture, Prabhupada says, so the principle is that we have to place our mind or consciousness in sattva guna. This is the first business. Without coming to the platform of sattva guna, Brahmanical qualification, one cannot make any advancement in spiritual life. Therefore, in our Krishna conscious movement, we first of all bring everyone to the platform of Brahmana. Therefore, at the time of second initiation, we offer sacred thread to recognize him that he is now Brahmana. Without becoming a Brahmana, nobody can become Vaishnava. So you're probably using the word Brahmana and mode of goodness, Sattva Gun, to be synonymous. So the whole idea is to not just have a Brahman thread. You can get a Brahman thread for 2 paisa. It's not the question of having a thread. The question is of having the qualification of a Brahmana, qualities of a Brahmana, sattva gun, mode of goodness. We want to come to that mode of goodness. And we know Bhagavad Gita, many chapters. It's a very important topic discussing Bhagavad Gita on the mode of, on these different 3 modes of material nature, and how the mode of goodness is very, very conducive. So we want to remove things which are of the lower mode, embrace things of sattva gun. So to become Krishna conscious means immediately. That is the test. Immediately he will become free from lust and greediness. If he's not free from lust and greediness, he is making a show. He's not Krishna conscious. This is the test. If one is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, then these 2 symptoms will be visible in his character. No more lust, no more greediness. He should be first satisfied with one wife. He should be satisfied with one wife or one husband. So Prabhupada is practically relating in terms of Grihastha ashram. Right? That even though we have lust, Krishna is giving us the opportunity to purify ourselves in the Grihastha ashram. And while we embrace the Grihastha ashram, we will advance so that we will come to this proof of Krishna consciousness, where there's no lust and no greediness. Very wonderful. So we can test. So these are practical signs and symptoms. Like on a roadmap, we're getting different signs, signboards, different posts, beacons. So this is the signs that you become free from lusty and greediness. Now Prabhupada gives further signs. A devotee is always in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Therefore, he harms no one. But the non-devotee, however educated he may be, is always harmful. A devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. The harmful, foolish, and passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord. However, they may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. A devotee is always qualified with all the good qualities of God. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotees are one and the same. So here we are now hearing about the quality of no harm. As we advance, we should be able to gauge, am I harming more or less? If my harming is getting less and less and less, means I'm advancing. And someone who's very advanced on the stage of Rushi and Shakti, coming to the stage of pure goodness, unalloyed goodness, no mixture even of pure goodness and passion and ignorance, he will not harm anyone. Harming mentally, verbally, and physically. Absolutely no harm. That means we don't think of anything bad of anyone. We don't speak bad of anyone or speak harmful to anyone, and we don't act harmfully to anyone. And we see the classic example of Magrari the hunter. Magrari the hunter was half killing animals. He would half kill them and experience, enjoy them suffering. When Narad Muni saw this, Narad Muni immediately told him, stop this. And if you want to kill them completely. But if you're half killing them, you're going to suffer all this pain that you're incurring to them. And Magrari was impacted by Narad Muni's association. Just that one word, stop, in his heart, made him stop. Generally, when people would tell him to stop, he would kill them. But Narad Muni's potency and purity stopped him in his tracks. And then he, told Narad Muni, but I'm doing this for my livelihood, for my family. And I'm sure they will help me in the reaction. And Narad Muni said, no, they're not going to be interested. You go and find out. So he went. He asked his children, asked his wife, I'm killing, will you take part of the reaction? They said, no, you killing, we didn't tell you to half kill them or do, kill. You meant to maintain us. So that's your business. This gave him a reality shock. Immediately came to Narad Muni and he surrendered, because now he could realize all the suffering, the reaction he's going to get. And he surrendered and said, please help me. What should I do? Narad Muni told him, break your bow. So then he said, but how am I going to maintain myself? He said, don't worry, you break your bow. So he broke his bow. Narad Muni guided him in the practice of bhakti, he became a devotee. He had plenty to support his family. And then Narad Muni Vadangiri Rishi came to see his disciples. So as they were coming, the disciple Mograri the hunter, he saw his spiritual mind, started running, and he was jumping from one place to another. And they noticed that the reason he was jumping was because he was avoiding the ants. So here we see the transformation from half killing animals and enjoying them suffer, practicing the path of bhakti, and then not even killing an ant. This is transformation. This is coming to the platform of unalloyed goodness. Prabhupada in the lecture says, so if we can somehow or other can avoid the lower grade modes, namely ignorance and passion, then naturally we come to the platform of goodness. That is also not sufficient. So even though it's mentioned here, we want to come to the mode of goodness, a warning, Prabhupada is saying, this is still not sufficient. It's the best, it's the way we want to go to, but from there we have to go further. Therefore it is said here, Nasta Prayashu, almost finished all dirty things. No, I am now situated in goodness, in Brahmanical qualifications. So the Shastras say it is all right, but still it is dirty. Because in Bhagavad Gita it is described that that is also a cause of bondage. I am very learned, I am now become Brahmana. So he does not know that is also false ego, that I'm a Brahmana, I'm very learned, I'm very advanced. This is also cause of bondage. He does not know that simply to become free from the mode of ignorance and passion is not sufficient. One must be free from the mode of goodness also. So the so-called goodness. Then you come to the transcendental platform that is called Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam. And when we come to the pastime of Narad Muni, which describes this stages very systematically as a practical example of his own life, Narad Muni also became attached to the mode of goodness. And he had to also rise above this mode of goodness. So first and foremost, yes, rise above passion and ignorance, come to the mode of goodness through our practice of bhakti. And then rise above the mode of goodness, because mode of goodness, false ego can be there. I have knowledge, pride, and we must rise above to come to pure goodness. Sarvapadi, all upadis, the only upadi, only designation we should have is I am a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, who are servants of the Lord Shri Krishna, the master of the gopis. So now we come to verse 20, which is going to now describe the last 4 stages: rati, fondness, prema, darshan, vision of the Lord, and experience the sweetness of the Lord directly. Evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavat tatta vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus establish in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by the contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. In Bhagavad Gita 7.3, it is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection in life. Mostly men are conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus are engaged always in lust, desire, hankering, ignorance, and sleep. Out of many such men like animals, there is actually a man who knows the responsibility of human life, and thus tries to make life perfect by following the prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of such persons who has thus attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the personality of God as Shri Krishna. In the same Bhagavad Gita, it is also said, 1855, it is also said that scientific knowledge of Shri Krishna is understood only by the process of bhakti yoga, devotional service. So the process is, as we advance, we will have scientific knowledge. That means direct experience of Krishna. In the beginning, we got the roadmap, and as we traverse the road, we begin to realize, oh, the roadmap is actually true because we can see, right? And seeing Krishna face to face is the end result, where we see the Lord to engage in his eternal service. The very same thing is here confirmed here in the above words. No ordinary man, or even one who has attained success in human life, can know scientifically or perfectly the personality of Godhead. Perfection of human life is attained when one can understand that he is not the product of matter, but is in fact spirit. And as soon as one understands that he has nothing to do with matter, yet one ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. Thus, attainment of success is possible when one is above the mode of passion and ignorance, or in other words, when one is actually a Brahmana by qualification. A Brahmana is a symbol of Sattva Guna, mode of goodness. And others who are not in the mode of goodness are either Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or less than Sudra. The Brahminical stage is the highest stage of human life because of its good qualities. So one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmana. The devotee is already a Brahmana by action, but that is not the end of it. As referred to above, such a Brahmana has to become a Vaishnava, in fact, to be actually in the transcendental stage. The fact is, however, that one cannot understand the science of personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava, he's enlivened state of liberation. In the enlivened stage of liberation, he can know what is actually the personality of Godhead. So knowing Krishna face to face, directly, personally, is an experience that can be obtained by everyone. Many people would ask Srila Prabhupada, have you seen God? And Prabhupada would respond in different ways. One time, one person challenged, he stood up and he told Srila Prabhupada, can you see God? And Prabhupada said, yes, you're in the way, sit down. Another person, he's humbly asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, have you seen God? Prabhupada responded, if I tell you yes, how are you going to verify? Right? And if I tell you yes, will you believe me? So whether Prabhupada says yes or no, it's irrelevant because you can't verify it. But at the same time, Prabhupada told him yes. And then Prabhupada said, so how do you believe me? And the guest said yes. So yes, we know that the Prabhupada was able to see Krishna, was seeing Krishna every moment face to face. But that experience we can see scientifically. Why? Because the roadmap is scientific. And anyone who goes on this road, eventually this is the experience. And he will also not only see God face to face, but he will experience. And what will he experience? So how one can become prasanatma or prasana manasa. This is described here. Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Yoga, Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga. Evam prasana manaso. Bhavat Bhakti Yoga. If you accept Bhavat Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to the Lord, you shall be prasanna manasa. You shall be always feeling jolly. If I'm not jolly, if I'm not prasanna manasa, that means Maya has attacked me. A Bhagavat Bhakta shall never be aprasanna, not joyful, always joyful. If he is actually in contact with Krishna, how can he become morose? No. If he is morose, he is unhappy, that means Maya has attacked him. This is the test. That means lack of Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga. It is Maya. So you must be very careful. Test. If you cannot rise early in the morning, that means we are under the clutches of Maya. This is the test. So you see how Prabhupada is encouraging, just as we use the roadmap to see, am I progressing? Then these are tests we can use. Am I becoming more and more jolly? Right? And yes, next week we'll discuss how the narrators, and the effect on us. It's not like necessarily immediately, but we can see that the duration, the intensity, this is all increasing. We are joyful, and we see here how Prabhupada, you could see the face is an index of the mind. So immediately you can see, yes, Prabhupada's the devotees, they are happy. Why? Because they're practicing this wonderful process of bhakti. And then the last verse for today, 21. Vidyate riddhaya grantis chidyanta sarva samshaya shiyante chasya karmani drishta evat manishware. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as the master. Prabhupada starts with the purport. Attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. As far as the identity of the living being as spirit self is concerned, there are a number of speculations and misgivings. The materialist does not believe in the existence of the spirit self. The empiric philosophers believe in the impersonal feature of the whole spirit without individuality of living beings. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the supersoul are two different identities, qualitatively one but quantitatively different. There are many other theories, but all of these different speculations are at once cleared off as soon as Sri Krishna is realized in truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Sri Krishna is like the sun, and the materialistic speculations are like about the absolute truth are like the darkest midnight. As soon as Krishna's sun is arisen within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculation about the absolute truth and the living being is at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand, and the relative truths that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance becomes clearly manifest by the mercy of Krishna, who is residing in everyone's heart as the supersoul. So there are many speculations about, the existence of the soul, what is the soul, etc. But by the process of Bhakti Yoga, when we see Krishna, we will automatically realize our true identity, and we'll be able to rise above all other forms of speculation, because people have so many concocted ideas of spirit. No doubt the Bhagavatam's understanding, Bhagavad Gita's understanding of the spirit is absolute, perfect. But right now we're accepting it based on faith. And that faith strengthens right from the beginning to the perfectional stage. We develop greater and greater faith. But when we realize the Supreme Lord, that faith becomes verified. That yes, it's true. Now I'm actually experiencing it, seeing it. Just like when it's dark, you can't see yourself. But as soon as the sun comes up, and as soon as you see the sun, you automatically see yourself. So when you see Krishna, you automatically also see yourself. You realize your true identity. Perfect knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita 10:11, the Lord says that in order to show special favor to his devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. Therefore, because the personality of God is taking charge of illuminating the heart of his devotee, certainly a devotee engaged in his service in transcendental love cannot remain in darkness. He comes to know everything from the absolute, of the absolute and the relative truths. The devotee cannot remain in darkness, and because a devotee is enlightened by the personality of Godhead, his knowledge is certainly perfect. This is not the case for those who speculate on the absolute truth by dint of their own limited power of approach. Perfect knowledge is called parampara, or deductive knowledge, coming down from the authority to the submissive order receiver, who is bona fide by service and surrender. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit of an insignificant spark of whole, a spark subjected to control illusory energy. The devotees are submissive, and therefore the transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of Godhead to Brahma, from Brahma to his sons and disciples in succession. This process is helped by the supersoul within such devotees. That is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge. So as we practice on this path of bhakti, Krishna will definitely reveal the truth in our heart. Our questions will get answered. Revelation will come. We'll get more and more clarity. It becomes more and more clear on this path. And because we already have the roadmap, as we're going through, all that will happen is we will get further and further realizations of verifying, validating the map. And that becomes exciting. Just like if I know the road, if I know the journey, I know what to expect. Oh, I'm very thirsty. So there, I got the garage is coming. I can buy something. I can quench my thirst. So like that, you can look forward to different stages. And as the stages manifest and you realize them, naturally, your ecstasy in the practice becomes even more. You become more excited. Prabhupada continues, this enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter, because the knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. This knot is called ahankara, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubts are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive actions. In material existence, the living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction. So every action, like we explained in the beginning, all the pious activities, all the sinful activities, both of them create a karmic reaction. So we've got mountains and mountains of karmic reaction. But by Shranvatam Swakata Krishna, by hearing Nista Prayasho Bhadresho, everything gets cleansed. By Nityam Bhagavata Seva, by serving the Bhagavatas, hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam, that becomes cleansed. So while we are pleasing Krishna through hearing and chanting, Krishna is also cleansing all the impurities, all the karmic reaction, and ultimately the false ego, the ahankar, that allows you to identify, I'm male, I'm female, I'm part of this material world. This false ego, I'm this body, this false ego also is completely destroyed. And our true identity as eternal servants is revived. Therefore, two things must go on in parallel lines, Prabhupada says in a class. One side, a person should cultivate Krishna consciousness, and the other side, he should try to give up all unwanted things. That will help him. You cannot continue both things. Just like when a person is diseased, he's given medication. At the same time, he has to act, not to take this, not to take that. That is the way of treatment. Not that whatever you like, you can eat, whatever you like, you can do. At the same time, you become spiritually advanced. So Prabhupada is making the point, two parts, two tracks, parallel tracks. One is to engage in the positive activities, Krishna consciousness, cultivate Krishna consciousness. And the other track is to avoid the negative, right? Avoid the unwanted activities. Try to overcome the unwanted things, the bad habits, etc. So both should be there. In that way, one can progress. Cutting the knot. In lecture, Prabhupada says, so vidyate means cut into pieces. What is the knot? Ridya gantri. Ridya means heart. Granti means knot. So everyone's heart is knot. What is the knot? The knot is sex. Pumsa striyam ituni bhavan etam. This is not. The material enjoyment begins. There is everyone's heart. Man, woman. Man wants to have woman, woman wants to have man. This is searching after. And some way or other, if they unite, the knot becomes tied up, very strong. This is called knot. Then as soon as the knot is there, then house, then land, then griyakshetra sutta, children, then friends, then money. In this way, one after another, we become knotted in so many things. This is called knot, ridya granti, one after another. Just like to make it tight, you give one knot, again a knot, another knot, another knot, another knot to make it secure. So this is our position. It's material world. We are knotted in so many ways, and we are creating more knots. So we have to cut down this knot. Right? And what's the knot? The main knot is sex life. Sex life is a gross form of enjoying separately from Krishna. And yes, we may have this desire, and we can regulate and purify this desire through Grihastha ashram, but eventually we need to rise above this very powerful force. Ultimately, the strongest force, desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. And this is possible by the process of Mahat Sevaya, by serving the devotees, by serving Krishna. This is very, very much possible. I'll share an analogy, and then I'll also share a true life experience of a devotee. So the question I have is, we have some seeds, chickpea seeds, whatever seeds, in the frying pan, and I'm going to shallow fry these seeds. And if I shallow fry these seeds and then plant them, what will happen? I shallow fry these seeds and I plant them, what will happen? Hemavati Radhika says, won't grow. No germination. The Archana Siddhi says, yes, they will not grow. No life. Correct. So we need to fry, not fructify fully. Yes, it won't grow, completely won't grow. So we need to fry all the seeds of pious and impious acts. Every act we've performed in our past life has sowed a reaction. So we've sowed many seeds of reactions, good and bad. We need to fry all those seeds out. And how do we fry all those seeds out? Prabhupada in a lecture says, Karmani nirdati kintucha bhakti bhajam. Karmani nirdati kintucha bhakti bhajam. Those who have not taken to Krishna, those who have taken to Krishna devotional service, their karma is cut off. There is no resultant action. Just like, chickpeas. Chickpeas, if you sow on the ground, it will fructify into a plant. But the same chickpea, if it is fried and you sow on the ground, it will not fructify. So our karma should be fried up by devotional service. Then it will not produce any results. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshyasisa masucha. So there is no resultant action of a devotee's activity. Therefore, here it is said, Shityanti cha asya karmani. Unless you have completely finished your resultant actions of karma, you cannot be promoted to the spiritual world. As long as you have some baggage of karmic reaction, means you have to take another body. In order for you to destroy your karma completely, you have to surrender completely to Krishna in devotional service. By practicing devotional service, two things happen. We don't create any more further karmic reaction, and we are now burning out past karmic reactions. And this is how we can now untie this knot that Prabhupada's talking about completely, once and for all, by the genuine process of Krishna consciousness Bhakti Yoga. I was giving a talk at a Bhakti Yoga society. In fact, the Bhakti Yoga students had come to the temple, and we were giving a talk to them. It was like a retreat. So in the seminar, in the retreat, there was one student, and this one student, he was insanely addicted to sex life. In fact, when the devotees would go to the campus and talk, he would always bring up, very abominable sexual questions, and they would feel a little embarrassed and chastise him, stop asking such questions. So in that retreat seminar, I was talking, and this student, sure enough, he raised his hands, and I didn't know. So he asked some sexual, abominable questions about sex. So I didn't get upset. I answered his, question, and he was quite impressed that I didn't get upset with him for asking such abominable questions, and I answered his questions satisfactorily. So he was very impressed. So after, we finished, then I was, just walking, and he called me. So I went and spoke to him, and we sat and started speaking, and he revealed his heart to me. And he said, Prabhu, I'm so fallen. You have no clue of how fallen I am. I'm completely addicted to sex life. And he was giving his addiction. He was revealing his addiction. He says, I practically know every club, in town. I go from club to club. I sleep with women. I have so many sexual magazines. I have so many sexual subscriptions, DVDs. Practically, this is my life, and how can I be saved? So I said, don't worry about your addiction. It's okay. And I asked him, can you do one thing for me? Very simple. So he was sincere. So I said, okay, what you do is you start chanting one round of the Hare Krishna mantra. But I want you to do it early in the morning. Soon as you get up, first thing in the morning, you chant one round. Before you chant one round, I want you to get a picture of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, and I want you to get an apple and some water. So offer the water to the picture of Srila Prabhupada and take the apple and offer the apple. You can cut it nicely, clean knife, plate, offer it there, chant the Hare Krishna mantra 3 times, and then you go and chant your one round. And after the one round, you come and then you take the water and fruit, and you just do this. And don't worry about your addictions, whatever, don't consider, don't worry about it. Then he said, but what if I go and I still watch and I still read and I go, I still go womanize? I said, don't worry about it. You just do this one thing and leave it in Krishna's hand. So he was sincere. So he started doing that. And I said, you keep in touch. And he started doing that. And he was keeping in touch. After 3 months, he sent me an email. And he said, Prabhu, you won't believe it. I've increased my rounds, 4 rounds. And also, I've removed all my subscriptions. I'm no more going to any of the pubs. I've removed all my subscriptions and I've given all my DVDs away. So I said, very good. You just continue doing what you're doing. And in this way, a few more months, he continued. He sent me an email, Prabhu, now I'm chanting 16 rounds. I've given up all my bad habits, and I'm also helping the society now, the BY society. So this is the point that Bhagavatam is revealing, that if we engage in devotional service, Krishna in the heart will purify. We don't need to worry about all the narratas. We simply have to worry about hearing and chanting and leave all our narratas, all our past karma in Krishna's hand. So we've concluded. We started off 16 and 17, hearing about how our spiritual life really starts off through the mercy of a devotee. And therefore, it's important that we're always out there giving unknown devotional credits to people. By them seeing us dressed as devotees, they see the tilak, they hear Hare Krishna, they hear the kirtan, they hear the holy name, they get prasad. We sell them a calendar, they see a picture of Krishna. All these ways increases the Sukrit devotional piety. Then they begin that service. When you start engaging in serving the devotees, if they come to the temple, they serving Srila Prabhupada, they seeing the deity, they seeing Srila Prabhupada. In this way, their piety increases, they get some faith. As the faith develops, they start to associate more with devotees, engage in devotional service. As they engage in the process of devotional service, hearing, chanting, serving those things that are tadya, Srila Prabhupada says, cleaning the temple, cutting vegetables, chanting Hare Krishna, engage in devotional service, they become more advanced because Krishna is now purifying their heart, cleansing all the narratas. As the narratas becomes completely cleansed, we come to the stage of steady devotional service. Here we may go to unsteady bhakti, which we'll cover next week. Next week, we're going to cover the different stages. We're going to recap these different stages. And I'm going to show you these different stages from different perspective or angles, from different scriptures, different sets of verses. We're going to cover the different anartas that are becoming cleansed here. What are the different anartas? And we'll also cover the different unsteady forms of devotional practices. When we come to Nishta, we come to steady, fixed devotional service. And from there, it's down sailing. We get taste, we get great attachment, we become attached to Krishna, first ray of love of Krishna, we get vision of Krishna, we experience Krishna's personal contact, and we'll share what that experience is also like next week. So this concludes today's lecture. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any questions or comments anyone has? Any questions? Comments? Mother Lash says in verse text 17, 1 to 17, he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. Question: if this is the case, then why is it said and widely accepted by authoritative sources, that the holy name of Krishna is far superior and beneficial than any other holy names of the Lord? Shouldn't all the holy names give the same benefit if they have the same potency? Very good question, Mother Lash. You are very thoughtful. So just as all the incarnations of Krishna is Krishna himself, non-different. Lord Ram, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nrsimhadev, Varha, even Buddha, empowered incarnation, they're all non-different from Krishna. But each incarnation exhibits a certain mood and a certain potency of Krishna. If you look at Lord Ramachandra never broke the rules and regulations of society. He showed idealism, and he exhibited a certain potency. He did not exhibit all the rasas. Krishna, who is Swayam Bhagavan, exhibits all the rasas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself as a devotee, displays the full compassionate mercy form of God. Lord Nrsimhadev, who's also not different from Krishna, exhibits the full anger of Krishna. So each incarnation is non-different from Krishna, at the same time exhibits specific potencies and qualities of the Supreme Lord himself. Therefore, the names corresponding to those incarnations also exhibit the same potency and mood of those incarnations. So Lord Nrsimhadev's names act as Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Ramachandra's names act as Lord Ramachandra. And Krishna's names act as Krishna. And because they exhibiting not the complete potency or complete rasas as the incarnation, similarly the holy names also don't exhibit the complete rasa or potency. So in that sense, the holy name of Lord Nrsimhadev is identical to his name, and the holy name of Lord Nrsimhadev is identical to his form. The name of Lord Ram is identical to the name of Lord Ram and his personality. Similarly, the name of Krishna is identical to Krishna. And because Krishna is the Purna, complete personality of Godhead, his name also exhibits the completeness in that sense. I hope that answered your question. Yes. Yes, Mother Hema Kishori. You have a question? No? Okay. How does one develop, Mother Hema Radhika says, how does one develop a grateful heart and express gratitude, our gratitude for everything the Lord gives us? So we were discussing this in the morning, that Prabhupada said, if you feel indebted to me, then try to preach as vigorously as I have. So we can show our gratitude by preaching. This is how we can actually show our gratitude. And we will never be able to stop expressing our gratitude. Okay, Prabhupada in his Bhaktivedanta purports says that gratitude is equivalent to love. So therefore, love and gratitude are synonymous. You can never stop loving Krishna. Therefore, you can never stop being grateful. Gratefulness is a sign of love. Therefore, every day we'll say, thank you, Krishna. I simply want to love you. Thank you, Prabhupada. I simply want to serve you. I simply want to love you. We keep saying thank you eternally. We keep serving and showing our gratitude through service eternally. It's a wonderful eternal debt of service in gratitude. Therefore, you can always express just by saying thank you. Thank you, my Lord. Even in English, doesn't need to be in Sanskrit, doesn't need to be in any fancy way. Just say, thank you, my Lord, for this opportunity. Thank you for bringing Srila Prabhupada in life. Thank you for the Bhagavatam. Thank you for helping me. Please, bring me closer and closer to your lotus feet. Just speak to Krishna. He's your friend. So Prabhupada says, you speak to him like you would tell a friend. How do you say, how do you express your gratitude to a friend? You give him a gift. You say thank you. You serve him. Similarly, you do that same, you exhibit that gratitude in the same way to Krishna and his devotees. Sham says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for your excellent lecture. Thank you, Sham. Is a devotee's karma completely removed? How does one explain our different experiences, seemingly it as though we are working through our karma? Yes, Krishna will never remove your karma completely. He knows if he removes karma completely right now, you will space out. Right? So he doesn't want you to space out, or you think, now life is fun. So Krishna, what he does is he will administer your karma in small quantities and give that to you, right? To test you, to increase your determination, to purify you, right? So Krishna does that. Krishna increases the friction, the heat, intensifies it so that way you can become stronger and stronger. But that karma that Krishna takes from your past and gives it to you is not ordinary karma. It's what we call Krishna karma, right? It's special karma coming from Krishna's hands. Krishna is administering. So therefore it has a different impact, different effect. And it's true. You are burning of karma. Just like as devotees, we hit our foot, we get cut, we meet an accident. That means we're burning of karma. So you can always think like this. Anytime some difficulty comes in your life, just think, yep, I'm burning off my karma. Wonderful. Thank you, Krishna. And because that karma is personally handled by Krishna, I'm burning off my own doing, Krishna is minimizing it. Thank you, Krishna, for this little karma. And if I completely surrender to Krishna, my karma will become less and completely one day, completely gone. One day I will come to that day where I have zero karma left. That's the day you will be liberated. That's the day you will see Krishna face to face. No more karma. Okay, so we are burning our karma. Even when you surrender to the spiritual master, it's not like all your karma is gone. To the degree you are surrendered, to that degree your karma goes. So even Krishna, to the degree you surrender, to that degree he administers your karma and purifies you. At the same time, while we practicing devotional service, our karma is also getting burned. So it's not that we get all our karma. In fact, it's described, if you go around Tulsi Devi, millions of lifetimes of sins are gone. By chanting holy name one time, millions of lives of sin is gone. So we're burning so much sin, is unreal. It's unreal. So not all the karma. Krishna takes selected karma and gives that to us, just so that we don't become complacent. Comment. A big thank you for sharing the absolute nectar so beautiful and scientifically. Thank you, Prabhu. Mother Lash, great. Marika says, can you give the name of the movie you talked about? All right, I'll have to find that movie and see. Spiritual Frontier. I'm sure it's there. The ITV must have compiled it. I'll try to get the link and post it in the Teams group. Please send us notes on the Ahankar, the knot this have found to be powerful. Force living beings in to be meta identified. So next week we're going to be covering some of the anarthas that are there. All the anarthas are founded and based on false ego. False ego is the initial binding force. What is that false ego? I am matter. I am. This I am. Not spirit, but I am everything else. This is the first binding force, this first anartha. And that's why you see how Srila Prabhupada arranged every time you come in a temple, you bow down. Why? I'm a servant. We have a name, Nishingananda Das. Das at the end, I'm a servant. We're reprogramming our consciousness first to say, I'm a servant now. Then we will slowly practice spiritual life and realize that scientifically. So this Ishwara Bhav, this consciousness that I am in control, I'm the master, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the proprietor, this is all false ego. And we'll cover that next week as well. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for glorifying Srila Prabhupada person Bhagavat. On the point of Krishna being eager to help us despite all our faults, etc., was reading earlier elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam in Srila Prabhupada's purport, how Putna, yes, came to kill baby Krishna by having the poison of her breast. Yet, when she was killed, she attained the highest position and status of Krishna's mother. He immediately accepted her as mother. Very nice, wonderful point shared by Shamananda Prabhu. True. In fact, we're going to come, Sukadeva Goswami will be sharing, why should we surrender to Krishna? Because Krishna is so merciful. Krishna is such an amazing person. Just consider, here is Putna. She is dressed as a gopi. So hypocrisy number one, cheating number one. Yet she's a demon. And what she's coming to do, she's coming to poison Krishna. Her intention is completely ill. She wants to kill Krishna. Not just serve him, kill him. So she comes dressed, disguised as a gopi, displaying her motherly affection to breastfeed Krishna and kill him. Krishna is so kind. One of Krishna's qualities is that he doesn't see the bad. So when Putna came, Krishna ignored everything else about Putna and saw the one beautiful part of Putna, that she wants to be motherly. She wants to breastfeed me. Even though it was poison, Krishna ignored the poison. Krishna ignored her mentality. Krishna ignored her hypocrisy, her cheating, her demonic tendencies. Everything was ignored by Krishna. Krishna only saw, oh, how wonderful. Just see, she's serving me like a mother, and killed her. Sucked her life breath out, her life air out, killed her, and gave her a position of a nurse. She did not even chant one round. She didn't even attend one Mangal Arati. What about 16 rounds? She killed so many babies. Yet Krishna gave her the position of a nurse. This shows the power of rendering service. If that was the gift that Krishna gave to Putana, what will Krishna give those sincere souls who are sincerely trying to serve him and love him? It's inconceivable. It's inconceivable. Therefore, with that faith and conviction, we should continue serving Krishna. Because a lover does not demand how the beloved should respond. Love means I simply act for the pleasure of my beloved, and that is all. Whether the beloved responds or not is not my business. My business is to serve Krishna. So simply by serving Krishna, we know that Krishna will reciprocate in the most wonderful, most glorious way. And even in our initial practices, we should know that how Krishna is responding to us even now is perfect. He knows best. He knows our past, present, and future. He knows best. So whatever he is doing is best. Let us have faith in him. Let us trust him, and let us be guided by Krishna. We simply have to engage in glorifying, in serving Krishna, his pure devotees, and their mission. And our life will be sublime, blissful and sublime. Thank you very much, Shamananda Prabhu, for sharing that. Jagannath Prabhu says, thank you for a most transcendental class, relishing the nectar. Thank you very much for everyone's association. Next week, we will continue with part 2 of the series. We will now take the 9 stages and the 14 stages, and we will go a little more into the depth of these, sharing it from different angles. So, for example, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's 8 prayers, Shishastikam. In the Shishastikam prayers also begin and goes through these different stages, right? And we'll show how we can use the Shishastikam prayers to give us another roadmap, another angle. It's like you could say a 3-dimensional roadmap, right? Or different layered roadmaps. So we have one roadmap with different layers, and you can measure your spiritual life with different ways to measure from different scriptures, different verses. And we're going to cover that so that we can at least understand this roadmap more concretely and be able to take full advantage of this roadmap for us and for others that we can help in their service to Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Go Pramanande. Hari Hari Bo.